Among all living beings, perhaps none is as cruel as the human being. Unlike animals, we have the ability to think, reflect, and plan our actions. When we commit an act of pure malice, it's rarely impulsive. It's the result of a conscious, rationalized, and often meticulously planned decision. Throughout history, humanity has developed increasingly sophisticated and brutal ways to punish, torture, and even exterminate its own kind. Today, we are going to learn about 6 of the most cruel death penalties in history, methods that go beyond any limit of the imagination. This is the Fatos Entre Mundos channel. It's a pleasure to have you here. Subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this, and support our work by leaving a like. This really strengthens the channel. Be prepared, as some of these stories are disturbing and filled with intense details. But understanding history is also understanding the limits of human nature and the capacity for evil that exists within us. Number 6. The cement shoes. The simple act of imagining your own death is enough to cause discomfort. Now, imagine dying by drowning without any possibility of returning to the surface. This was exactly the reality for some victims of the American Mafia during the era of the most violent organized crime in the 1920s and 1930s. The method was simple and terrifying. The victim's feet were cemented together, forming a kind of concrete shoe. The person was then thrown into rivers, lakes, or the sea. The sensation of drowning was complete and inevitable. No one could escape. No one could fight. Only the fear, the cold water, and the weight of the cement determined the moment of death. Besides the execution, the threat of the cement shoes had a strong psychological effect on the members of the Mafia itself, used to intimidate rivals and silence witnesses. Number 5. Impalement. If the cement shoes already seem extreme, impalement is even more shocking. This was the preferred method of Vlad the Impaler, Prince of Wallachia in the 15th century, whose reputation for cruelty inspired the myth of Dracula. Impalement consisted of driving a wooden stake through the condemned person's body. This stake could be inserted through the anus, vagina, or navel, slowly piercing the internal organs until the tip exited through the mouth in some cases. The process was prolonged, ensuring the victim remained conscious for a great deal of the suffering. Vlad used this method not only as an execution, but also as a strategy of intimidation, displaying the impaled bodies to terrorize enemies and rebels. It was a public spectacle designed to provoke fear. Number 4. The deadly star, or sawing. If you thought the previous methods were horrifying, prepare yourself for the deadly star. Many condemned people preferred to take their own lives rather than face this punishment. In this method, the victim was hung upside down, with their limbs tied in a way that offered no chance of escape. Blood would pool in the head, keeping the victim conscious and fully alert. After being suspended, the true terror began. The torturers used saws to slowly cut the body in half. Because the blood remained concentrated in the head, the victim witnessed every movement and every cut, without fainting or receiving the quick relief of death. The deadly star was not just a method of execution. It was a form of domination and psychological terror, making clear the absolute power of those who commanded the punishment. Number 3. Scaphism. Created in the Sasanian Empire, scaphism is perhaps one of the most insane tortures in history. The mind that conceived this method seemed trapped in a place darker than hell itself, reflecting the brutality of the technique. The condemned person was forced to drink large amounts of milk and honey, which quickly caused severe diarrhea. But the torture didn't end there. Next, the body was completely smeared with honey and tied up, exposed to the sun, outdoors, with no protection whatsoever. The victim suffered the actions of insects attracted by the honey, which slowly devoured the exposed skin and tissues. If the insects didn't finish the job, malnutrition, sun exposure, and the natural necrosis of the flesh ensured that death was inevitable. Scaphism is an extreme example of how human cruelty can combine anatomical knowledge, patience, and sadism, resulting in a slow and agonizing torture. Number 2. Human soup. Who doesn't enjoy a nice warm soup on a cold day? It's almost impossible to resist. But what if I told you that at certain times in history, there was something called human soup? This execution method was used in Madagascar and became one of the most shocking ever recorded. The condemned were tied by their feet and plunged directly into boiling water. Contrary to what one might imagine, death was not immediate. The pain was unbearable and prolonged, and the victim remained in the hot water until their body was literally cooked. Human soup was more than an execution. It was a spectacle of terror that served to intimidate entire populations. Number 1. Compound hanging. Hanged, drawn, and quartered. Finally, we arrive at what many consider the cruelest method of all, the compound hanging. The name alone carries an unsettling weight. This practice combined various forms of torture into a single process. The first stage was the hanging, something relatively common by medieval standards, but then came the compound part. While still alive or on the verge of death, the condemned person had their limbs removed one by one, undergoing slow cuts and mutilations. Next, the body was dragged through the streets by horses, exposed to the most disgusting things that could be thrown at it: feces, animal carcasses, and garbage. The grand finale consisted of the removal of the entrails, eyes, and even the genitals, a public spectacle calculated to terrorize those who watched. It was the materialization of maximum cruelty. When we look at each of these methods, it becomes clear that human evil has no limits. From the cement shoes to the compound hanging, each practice reveals not only pain and suffering, but also a kind of macabre creativity used to punish and control. Now I ask you, if you had to choose just in theory which one of these methods to face, which would it be? They are all horrible, and each in its own way. And this proves the extent to which human beings are capable of extremes that even the fiercest animals would never reach. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.